are reportedly close to agreeing on a peace framework to end the conflict between the two countries. The proposed deal is expected to include the lifting of the U.S. blockade on Iran, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and the launch of 60 days of negotiations on Tehran's nuclear program. However, reports indicate that U.S. President Donald Trump has warned that military action against Iran could resume if the parties fail to reach a final nuclear agreement. Both sides have also announced the immediate and permanent cessation of military operations across all fronts, including Lebanon. And for more on this, we are joined on the line by Professor Emeritus of International, Comparative and Constitutional Law at the University of South Africa, Professor Andre Thomashausen. Prof, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Yes, good afternoon. Pleasure to be here.
Now, Prof, how key is this reported peace framework between the U.S. and Iran, given decades of hostility between the two countries?
Well, it is a fundamental step in our modern history because if we look back 5,000 years, nobody pays reparations if he hasn't lost the war. So America is proposing to release $300 billion to Iran and to immediately release another $24 billion during the first 60-day period during which Iran has agreed to discuss the future of its nuclear program. So what we've actually seen here is the best and the most advanced American military technology having been beaten by Russian military technology, because that is what Iran is using. And this adventure of attacking Iran, of declaring that a whole Iranian civilization would be wiped off the face of the earth, this adventure is actually ending badly and very costly, not just for America, but for the whole Middle East, because remember, the Middle East, the Gulf Coordination Council countries, they actually stood more with Israel than with Iran in this conflict, but they will now have to live with a new regional superpower, which is Iran.
And how sustainable is this agreement, Prof, if key issues, particularly Iran's nuclear program, remain unresolved, especially with Trump threatening military action against Iran if the parties fail to reach a final nuclear agreement? Do you think the $24 billion is going to be enough for Iran to sort of move away from their nuclear program?
Well, Iran has formally in international law a very strong argument that just like any country in the world, they should be able to benefit from nuclear energy, and they should be able to develop nuclear energy and to develop all the science and technology needed for it. There's a debate amongst experts whether you actually need to enrich uranium to a level of 60% to produce nuclear energy. Normally, nuclear energy is produced with very low enrichment, around 10%. But weapons grade uranium is something over 90%. So Iran is actually not close to having a nuclear weapon unless they have one, of course, hidden deeply somewhere deep underground. The uncertainty of that nuclear demand, or the nuclear disarmament demand, or the relinquishing by Iran of its nuclear research capabilities, that is only one factor that lies over this agreement like a big black cloud. From Israel, we hear that they are complaining that with one stroke of a signature, immense military achievements secured with the courage of the Israeli pilots, and many lives have been erased, have been given up. Iran emerges emboldened and strengthened and flush with money, and ready to continue pursuing its expansionist foreign policy, because Iran is not just like any other country. Iran is a country that is a theocracy. It is all its policies are integrated into a religious conviction, and it believes in expanding it. It believes that the entire world must be saved by being subjected to that religion.
And what concessions is Iran likely to seek in return for limiting its nuclear activities?
I think this whole agreement finds its basis on the fact that America is prepared in principle to abolish all the sanctions. Iran is heavily sanctioned internationally. It, for instance, has tremendous difficulty in sourcing and buying spare parts for normal civilian aircraft because their industry is in no position to produce those themselves. And getting rid of these sanctions, being able to trade freely, is of course the carrot in these negotiations. But again, it can hardly be achieved leaving on the side and not integrating the neighbors, the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Egypt, and Syria, and of course Israel, because they have to live right next to Iran and with Iran. And they are completely frustrated that there is no undertaking by Iran to give up its advanced ballistic missile program. And these ballistic missiles have proven to be quite formidable. They penetrated Israel's iron shield. Israel was not able to defend itself against those latest generation missiles, which are obviously originating from Russian technology. So there are issues that are left open, and we can only hope that on Friday in Geneva and Switzerland, there will be a firmer commitment to the cessation of hostility, no more civilian deaths, no more terrible episodes of destruction and suffering, and that from then on, like in so many diplomatic processes, a slow continuation of exchanges and negotiations will eventually produce a normalization that can carry the agreement of everybody in the Middle East.
Well, Prof, thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today.
Thank you.
As Professor Emeritus of International, Comparative and Constitutional Law at the University of South Africa, Professor Andre Thomashausen, joining us on the line.
Be inspired. Stay informed.